Hello viewers, in today's class we are going to solve yet another very important and conceptual problem from definite integrals, right? So we have once again here an important problem from definite integrals. So we have to solve this integral from -1 to 1, and here we have x raised to 1 minus greatest integer of x, and here we have signum of x, right? So here in this problem, both the greatest integer function and the signum function are involved, right? So let us first call this integral as I, and here in order to solve these type of integrals in which the greatest integer function or the fractional part function or the signum function or the absolute value function are involved, what we usually do, we concentrate upon the basic definition of these important functions, right? So we'll take this integral as I, and here the lower limit is -1 and the upper limit is 1, right? And between -1 and 1 we have the integer 0, right? So first of all, what we will do, we'll take the definition of signum function, right? So let us quickly take the definition of signum function. So signum of x is defined as +1 whenever x is positive, signum of x is 0 whenever x is equal to 0, and signum of x is equal to -1 whenever x is negative, right? So we'll make use of this definition of signum function to simplify this integral. So now here the limits of integration are from -1 to 1. So what we will do, we'll break this integral as a sum of two integrals, right? So the first one is from -1 to 0 and the second one is from 0 to 1, right? So what we will do, we'll write it as I1 plus I2, and I1 is from -1 to 0, that is this interval, that is -1 to 0, and here we have x raised to 1 minus greatest integer of x, and here we have signum of x dx, and I2 is from 0 to 1, so we have 0 to 1, and we have x raised to 1 minus greatest integer of x, and here we have signum of x, right? So now we have two integrals. So here if we see the first one, then we see that x belongs to this interval, that is from -1 to 0, and when x belongs to -1 to 0, all the values of x are less than 0, right? And in that case the value of signum function would be -1, right? Okay, and moreover we have to take care of this greatest integer function. So when x belongs to -1 to 0, then obviously the value of greatest integer of x is equal to -1, right? So when x lies between -1 and 0, then the value of greatest integer of x is -1, right? And similarly, when we take this integral, we have the interval from 0 to 1, and all the values of x which lies between 0 and 1 are greater than 0, right? So obviously when x is greater than 0, signum of x would take the value +1, right? And when x was less than 0, as in this case, the signum of x will take the value -1, right? And moreover here x lies between 0 and 1, so when x lies between 0 and 1, then obviously the value of greatest integer of x would be 0, right? So now we have this information, and we can now substitute here signum of x is equal to -1, and here the value of greatest integer of x is -1, and here signum of x is +1 and greatest integer of x is 0, right? So now let us write these two integrals, -1 to 0. We have x raised to 1 minus -1, and for signum of x we have -1. This is dx, and then we have 0 to 1, x raised to 1 minus 0, because greatest integer of x is 0, and for signum of x we have +1, right? So now we can rewrite these two integrals as -1 to 0. We have x raised to 2, minus minus plus, so we have 1 plus 1 2, and this negative sign can be taken outside the integral, and here we have dx, and here we have 0 to 1, and we have x dx, right? Okay, so now we have two simple integrals, and we can make use of this result, that is x raised to n dx is equal to x raised to n plus 1 over n plus 1, provided n is not equal to -1, right? So here we have minus x cube over 3, and limits are from -1 to 0. Here we have x square over 2, limits are from 0 to 1, and now we can write, here we can substitute the limits. So when we take x is equal to 0, so this term becomes 0. When we take x is equal to -1 here, so we get -1 cube is -1, and here we have 3, and then we have here 1 square is 1, so we have 1 over 2. Here we have 0, so this is 0, and now we can write this is minus minus plus, so we have -1 over 3 plus half, and this is 6, taking the LCM, so we have -2 plus 3, that is 1 over 6, right? So the value of this integral is 1 over 6, right? So viewers, this is how we have seen that how we can make use of the basic definition of these function, that is greatest integer function and signum function, to simplify these type of integrals to get the desired result.